Hello, good to see you again. JJ here, coffee in hand, babbling away, talking about some various subjects this morning. Been listening to a lot of music lately, and maybe privy to the news. We're in January, not even February 2025 now, and the world is in a tenuous spot, let's say. So music is a great escape for everyone, I think, and so I've been listening to a lot. And going back to, I always like discovering new music, but sometimes you can rediscover old music. And the thing with art, and an old saying, I'm obviously paraphrasing here, but the art stays the same, but you change. So depending on when you've taken the art in, you get a different experience every time. And I've had some albums and some bands coming out of my life, and there's phases everyone goes through, and certain bands, there's one right there, Metallica. They just, you're with them forever, and your interest wanes and it ebbs and flows, and you just go along with the flow of the band. You're along for the ride. You're waiting to see what's happening. And other bands, it's just like they you have a spot where they're introduced into your life, and they bring you back to certain times in your life. And just developing, as a listener, you just get reminded of these things. And growing up, and what you were doing, certain circumstances, you may have heard songs. Music is a great time traveling device in that way. And so one album that I've always used as a time traveling device is from. They're one of my favorite bands. I would say Metallica has kind of predominantly been my favorite band, and the band I've followed the most closely over the years and kind of looked up to, and the ethos of the band and stuff. But just musically, and the fulfillment that I get from the music, I will say it's not often that I listen to Metallica so much, and I do revisit their catalog from time to time. And it's not that I burn myself out listening to them. It's just that, it's kind of, I choose to listen to it in a different circumstance. It's not just to put on to feel good. It's like maybe I'm putting it on to try to learn something or pick apart like a nuance of something, why they did this, what, those kinds of things. It's more kind of a learning tool or something, if you want to call it that. But as far as like musical kind of listening pleasure, I don't know if I do that much with Metallica, to tell you the truth. Maybe the Black Album or some of the simpler albums, Load and Reload, those are more enjoyable to me in a different way than, Ride the Lightning or something like that. But getting back to what this video is about, one of my all-time favorite bands, and one of the best pop kind of rock bands of all time. Their catalog speaks for themselves. The band is Def Leppard, and the album is Pyromania. Now, I could go through Def Leppard's entire discography and do albums, and I might even just do that, but I wanted to get to this one first, because this record is a real life changer for me. I don't mean like in the sense of, whatever, I had a come to Jesus moment or something with it. Musically, maybe it is a come to Jesus moment. My eyes were opened after I heard this, because the songs on this album are, just unbelievably, they're undeniable in how catchy they are and how poppy they are, and the production and the performance. And Def Leppard wrote some amazing songs throughout their history. If I was going to take an album with me to a desert island, there's no question about it. This is the one that I'm taking. I have now gone through 3 copies. This is the 3rd copy of this album that I have, because I wore out the other 2. I didn't have a great record player. I had a bad needle on my record player. I wore out the records. They did not work that well and they didn't sound that good. So I still have my original copy that I inherited from my older brother. That's not going anywhere, but this is the one I listen to now. Because it sounds, it's still used, but it sounds good. So I don't know if anyone that's watching this is that familiar with Def Leppard. You probably know the band, but the catalog, you know, this record is now 42 years old? Yeah, 42 years old, 41. So some of these songs, you know, obviously have kind of carried on and, you know, made their way through the zeitgeist and, you know, maintained their popularity. But there's literally not a bad song on this. I think every song that's on this, well, there's one, but, you know, out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 songs that are on this, you know, 9 out of 10 is a pretty good batting average for albums. You know, a lot of albums that were made in this era would have 1, 2 songs, and those were the hits and the singles, and the rest was filler. This is not the case with this. Every single one of these songs in the right circumstance could have been a hit. And I think the fans and, you know, people would agree with that sort of thing as far as rock songs go. Most famous song off this, likely Photograph. You know, that's kind of the one everybody hears. If you're doing like an 80s night or something, if you're going to put on a Def Leppard song, it's either Pour Some Sugar on Me or Photograph. Those are probably the two. It's like, you know, Rock of Ages, I guess you could maybe kind of put that in there too, but I'm gonna put my money on Photograph if I show up to your 80s theme party, I'm putting my money on Photograph being played at some point during the night. You know, lyrically, like, you know, this band, you know, these guys kind of get stuck under the guise of being like the pretty boys, and, you know, I would be calling them pretty boys, I don't know, like, whatever, different tastes, different folks, whatever. But it's just like, I think of Pretty Boys, I think of Poison or somebody like that. You know, these guys, they are okay looking, I guess, but Pretty Boy moniker kind of gets me. You know, musically, I want to do a video separately about a particular guy in this band, and it's not even Rick Allen, the drummer. Rick Allen is obviously a big influence of mine, and his story is quite amazing if you don't know, and I'll touch upon him, but I'll also touch upon speaking about Steve Clark. Steve Clark is my musical hero. You know, I don't think it's anything kind of out of the wheelhouse to be a drummer, but still gain influence or have influence from other musicians and things. And Steve Clark, in my opinion, is, you know, he was the heart of Def Leppard. He is probably one of the most underrated guitar players of all time, and I would put it out there that he's probably one of the most underrated or kind of forgotten songwriters of all time too. Steve Clark, you know, tragically died in I think it was 1991. You know, right before Def Leppard released what was their final album with him, and going through and seeing the songwriting process and how painstaking it was for these guys, and the stuff that Steve Clark was coming up with. The other guys obviously all contributed as well, but Steve Clark was something else. He's, in my opinion, one of the greatest musicians that's ever lived. Not just guitar players, you know, not just performers, and so cool, you know. The nickname White Lightning, like, it was such a striking, you know, thing to see those guys, and you know, his performance is, you know, the way he wore his guitar is just the coolest of the cool. The bandanas around the neck, the whole thing is just the epitome of what I kind of think is a cool guitar player and things like that. But there'll be a video about him at some point as well and his influence on me. But back to the album. This album is just, to me, it's just hit after hit after hit. You can't discount the production of Mutt Lange being involved, who I think top 3, top 5, definitely music producers of all time. Probably could have had an amazing music career on his own. If he hadn't been so ugly, I guess, is what happened. The name Mutt apparently is, because they didn't think he was good looking enough to be a singer or front a band on his own, sort of thing. So, he had worked with obviously AC/DC prior to working with Def Leppard, but I think he really, really found his muses in these guys in Def Leppard, where he found a group of guys who were young enough, who were malleable enough, who were able to still take influence and kind of go with it. And to me, not to say that Mutt Lange is a mastermind or, this is his project, but clearly his involvement with Def Leppard was massively influential on them. And, it all was, it all tied in together. It was all, part of the same thing. Without Mutt Lange, you might not get this album. And without Def Leppard coming to Mutt Lange with the songs and a musician like Steve Clark writing a lot of the things for the music, you definitely don't get this. And this is one of those moments in music for me that is just like a perfect culmination of worlds coming together and, just lucky. Let's call it luck. I feel lucky to have an album like this available for me to listen to. And the right time, the right place for me when I heard it. It's poppy enough where the girls all love it and the guys love it too because it's got a hard rock attitude. And, Joe Elliott's an amazing singer. The lyrics on a lot of these songs just paint these like pictures of, a song like Too Late for Love is just like, it's so dark and it's so like, it's still yet dark yet kind of beautiful at the same time. And, that song evokes a lot of emotion. You can really feel it when you listen to it. For me, anyways, Coming Under Fire. My favorite Def Leppard song of all time is off of this, the song Foolin'. And that's a Steve Clark special. And basically, if you don't know the song that well, I very, very strongly encourage you to listen to it because I think it's one of the greatest rock songs that's ever been written. It has 3 hooks. And what I mean by a hook is there's 3 parts of the song where you could take that part out and probably make a chorus that would be a hit song out of just that part. And this song has 3 hooks in it, which is, it's insane. It's like to get a hook in a song that's memorable and, it's one thing, but to just be able, he had so many that Steve Clark just, throw one here, throw one there, throw one here. Just did what he wanted with them. It was an endless supply of hooks and riffs and all these ideas. And Foolin', just an amazing song, an incredible Def Leppard song. Die Hard, The Hunter, Rock Till You Drop. Rock of Ages I mentioned previously, another hit song. Billy's Got a Gun is incredible as well. It's just this very lumbering, like, don't, it's just this marching, like, it just feels ominous. It feels powerful. All these other words that kind of relate to the same thing. It's just, it's incredible what this album is. And it doesn't necessarily get buried in the weight of hysteria, the Pour Some Sugar on Me and Def Leppard, whatever. It happens to bands. The bands get these albums and they put them out and they become known for them and they kind of despise those a little bit. I don't think Def Leppard should ever feel that way, but hysteria, I'm sure they don't. But man, if I would love to pick the brains of anybody from the band at some point. Obviously, Steve Clark, it's not able to be done, but any of these guys. I was working at a concert venue, and I happened to run into Viv Campbell, who is the new guitar player for, well, he's been in the band longer than some of you people have been alive now, but he was the new guitar player, and he replaced Steve Clark. Viv Campbell is another famous guitar shredder. clearly he wasn't involved in the making of this album, but you know, I still respect Viv a lot, and had a nice quick little chat with him in the elevator ride. And yeah, he was awesome. And I didn't get to see the show that night. I was working and then doing something else. I would have liked to see. I've never seen Def Leppard live, but there's also a part of me that realizes the part of Def Leppard that I hold the most near and dear isn't there anymore. So my desire to kind of see it is lessened, because, you know, my favorite musician is he's not alive anymore. And so yeah, but once again, just unbelievable. This record, in the annals of hard rock and pop, it came out at the right time. There's an amazing concert. You know, people forget that Def Leppard was one of the bands that were kind of breaking out of the, you know, everyone talks about the new wave of British heavy metal. Iron Maiden, Saxon, these guys were in that era. They don't get remembered as much for being a new wave of British heavy metal band. But On Through the Night and some of the earlier stuff in the late 70s that they were putting out definitely got classified into that. So forget about all the sugar and the sparkles from the later 80s stuff. These guys had real rock and roll attitude, and the chops to back it up, and the musicianship to literally pull off, like, you know, there was obviously some trickery happening, and, you know, Mutt Lange is clearly singing on a lot of the background stuff for them. His voice is unbelievable. But when these guys would play live, there was a very, very tight live band, and man, could they play. It's super powerful. The stage presence was something else, and yeah, the album Before This High and Dry is also another amazing record. I might touch upon that quickly as well on another video, but Pyromania, this is my desert island album. It's going to be hard to find a turntable on said desert island, so I might have to take a different version with me. But if I'm listening to one album and having to have something to musically digest and just enjoy and ride out the rest of my time wherever I am with, there's not even a close second to this album. To say it means the most to me, you know, out of all the albums in my collection, isn't too far of a stretch. You can find more copies of this. This is you know, it's not a hard to find album by any means, but what it means to me personally, as far as the music goes, yeah, there is almost no more album that I kind of hold near and dear to me. Just as outside of all the musicianship, that's a hard word to get out. Just enjoying music as a fan. That's, you know, if I took the drum parts out, if I forget about the arrangements, if I forget about these things, just enjoying the songs as a fan, this album is numero uno in my books. So yeah, if you've never heard anything off of this, just please, you can't go wrong. If you enjoy pop music, if you like rock music at all, I mean, this is a preeminent album to have and to listen to. So yeah, this is the one me about gloating about Pyromania from Def Leppard. Cheers.